Hello, guys. Welcome. Good morning. How is everyone today? Good afternoon. Yeah, thought I'd throw a different intro at you today. Hope everyone's well. Hope you all had a great weekend and happy bank holiday, I guess, to everyone in the UK. Oh my gosh. Um, I know Paris was first this morning, so good morning to Paris. And he said, let's try and get clobbering time to do 1,000 subs, and I absolutely agree with him. If you guys aren't subscribed to Clobbering Times, please do. He's a great friend with a fantastic channel, and he definitely deserves to be up there. So, good morning, everyone. We've got Chris Persia. Good morning, Chris Persia. And right off the bat, we had two back-to-back super stickers. So thank you, guys. We had a $2 super sticker from Darth Hasta with a little Shiba Inu with the hearts. So thank you, sweetheart, for that one. And we had a £4 super sticker from the Jester of Sin with a pair giving a present to, I'm guessing, a pair, I think that is. That is an accurate representation of what I look like when I get a gift. So thank you, sweetheart. I appreciate that. Oh, good morning. We have got Variety Say, good to see you. We have got Mark the Infinitely Tired. Good morning, sweetheart. Good to see you as well. Robert Pearson, good afternoon. Who else has joined us? We have got Rambling Canuck. Good morning. Good to see you. James Andrew Morrison. Good afternoon. Welcome. Geek Inside. Yep, it's Monday again. Sorry, honey. Good morning to Project Storytime. Good to see you. Who else has joined us? Naughty Monkey Oraf. Good morning. Good to see you as always. Derek McManus. Good afternoon. SRB. Good morning. And sure, Mark, yeah, if you want to drop Clubby's link in, that would be great. Thank you. Teresa Pearson, good afternoon, love. Good to see you. Oh, Colin, good afternoon. It says another birthday in lockdown, but otherwise an okay weekend. Oh, I'm sorry, honey. When was your birthday? Is it today or was it yesterday or Saturday? Let us know. Oh, I'm sorry, honey. Dave G Sound, good morning. Good to see you. Hey, how is everyone? Who else has joined us today? Dave Bob, there he is. Hey, Dave Bob, good to see you. Welcome, everyone, and Dee Dee Myers, good to see you as well. It was yesterday. Oh, happy birthday for yesterday, Colin. I hope you had a good day, other than the current situation that we're in. So I'm sorry for that. And good morning to David Martin. Welcome, good to see you. So, guys, was fun to decide what we was going to talk about today, and Marvel has just dropped a new trailer for all of the upcoming films for Phase 4. So obviously we can't show the trailer, but what I can do is pull up the graphic. So they're really spacing these films out, even more so than I thought. And good morning to my mod sister, Vanessa. Good to see you, sweetheart. Hey, good morning. So let me pull up this graphic, and it kind of gives us a better idea of how they're spacing this phase 4 out. And I don't know, guys. I'm just not feeling these films. Let me bring this up and see what we've got. So obviously all of these we knew were coming, but now Marvel seems to have locked down the dates. So Black Widow is coming in July. Can't say I'm that interested, gotta admit. Shang-Chi, again, September. Sorry, guys, not for me. The Eternals, again. I've got an article from Bounding into Comics to talk about the Eternals coming up in a little bit. Not interested. Spider-Man No Way Home. Maybe. Doctor Strange. That's probably the only one of all of these that I'm interested in. Thor Love and Thunder. Nope. Probably going to be a pass for me. Black Panther is now renamed, so it's going to be Wakanda Forever, and that is coming sometime in mid 2022, I believe. We've got Marvels, another one that I was not really that interested in. Ant-Man and Wasp has been renamed, so it's Quantum Mania again, obviously tying into the multiverse. And then look at this, May 5th, 2023. We have to wait until Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. 2 years, guys, 2 years before this one comes. Um, but the other one that is even later is going to be Fantastic Four. So, what do you guys think? Any of these you're looking forward to? Because I'm not entirely sold on any of them. And Project Storytime says, "Oh, come on, looking forward to Love and Thunder. The memes will be amazing. The memes might be amazing, but will the film be? I don't know. I don't know. I'm just not feeling it." Uh, and Chris Bush just says, "Sounds like Eddie isn't happy with the lineup release date." No, he's not. No, he was giving his opinion as well. Dave G. Sands not really. No, I don't know. I think for me, it seems really odd that they've pushed and pushed back Fantastic Four. And the Fantastic Four, as everyone knows, is one of the most important um, teams in the Marvel comic books. You know, it's the first family of Marvel. You'd think they would have been one of the first um, for them to kind of bring to the big screen. Now, I know that they've tried multiple times before and failed, but yeah, I just think that if a lot of these films fail, then the hype for them is really going to die off quite quickly. Colin P. Smith says, "Nope, I have zero confidence in Disney being able to make anything worth watching." And Vanessa says, "No, they've moved Morbius to January 2022. It's the only movie I care about at the moment." Yeah, Fantastic Four will be very cautiously optimistic. Mark, I would love to see a really well done Fantastic Four. It's been a long time. Um, so we will see. Dave Bob says, "I can't imagine Portman wielding Mjolnir." Well, if you've seen the onset pictures of her, she seems to have kind of bulked up um, since that Comic Con where she was holding it and looked like she would rather have been anywhere else. So we'll see how that one pans out. But uh, Jane Foster as Thor was never popular in the comics, so again with the MCU, I don't think it's going to translate that well, unfortunately. Um, Project Storytime says the Roger Corman FF is still the best. It is, yeah, a film that was never meant to have been released. Was never told by the actors in it that it was going to be released. It was just to keep a hold of the Fantastic Four license. Yeah, it's still the best. Paris says there is zero momentum for the Eternals. There seems to be zero momentum for a lot of the films. You know, watching this trailer this morning that's just been released, it was mostly, obviously, there was a little bit of the Eternals, but it was mostly the Black Widow film coming up. And none of it kind of had any impact on me at all. I was like, well, next. Chris Persia says, "Has Portman bulked up or is that a muscle suit?" Remember, she will have to be an emaciated, cancer riddled Jane Foster as well. It could have been a muscle suit. I mean, the pictures that I saw certainly looked very odd. Um, so maybe it was a muscle suit that they'd put her on, but yeah, she looked very strange in those pictures, bless her. Bring in Beta Ray Bill and let him run the title with God of Thunder. I would love to see Beta Ray Bill. That would be pretty cool. The closest we got was Thor Ragnarok when we had you could see his head up on one of the buildings. And Vanessa, yeah, Doctor Strange is probably the only one that I'm looking forward to. Um, Mainly because the first Doctor Strange actually surprised me. It was one that I kind of went into having no kind of real interest in, and Benedict Cumberbatch actually surprised me with how good he was as Doctor Strange. So fingers crossed that one at least will be um, a decent film. I mean, obviously it's tying into uh, WandaVision, and it'll be tying into the Spider-Man film as well, and most likely the Loki TV series when that releases. Um, but momentum seems to be grinding to a halt with Phase 4. You know, people just aren't getting hyped for it. There were pictures released over the weekend of Kamala Khan in her costume. Um, People, you know, it was a very mixed reaction. Some people loved it and said how comic book accurate it was. Other people said it just looked like a really bad cosplay. Um, for me, it was never a character I was very interested in anyway. Um, so we'll see how well that one pans out. But obviously, the big one that seems to be uh, dead in the water is the Eternals. So I have got a article from Bennigan's Comics, which dropped on the 30th. Um, Let me share screen and we can go through it. There we go. So, so this is from John F. Trent and it says Eternals Marvel boss Kevin Feige addresses race and gender swapping claims Cersei, not Ikaris, is lead. Uh, okay, let's jump into this, guys. Marvel Studios boss Kevin Feige recently addressed the upcoming Eternals movie, deciding to race and gender swap most of the characters from their origins in the comic. Not entirely surprised, but let's see where we're going with this. A majority of the Eternal characters have been race and gender swapped. The only characters that look similar to the comic book iterations are Ikaris, Athena, and Phastos. They changed Makari to a black female deaf character. Ingo now appears Indian instead of appearing to be Japanese. Ajak is Hispanic, Lebanese, and female. Gilgamesh is now Asian, and Sprite is now female and a young girl. Feige spoke with Variety about the upcoming film following movie director Chloe Zhao's winning Best Director and Best Picture for Nomadland, a film practically nobody watched, given it has a global box office take of a measly 6.8 million. Just as an aside, did anybody watch Nomadland? It's one of those that I kind of knew about, but had again no real interest in watching. Um, so I'd be curious to see if anyone in the chat actually watched it also. Feige would specifically address the Eternals as race and gender swapping almost every single character from the comics. When Variety's Kate Arthur asked, Externals expands the MCU in terms of representation of its large international cast. Its first LGBTQ superhero. I know some of those things are baked into the Eternals, but how many of those expansive ideas came from Chloe? He answered, well, the notion of switching up gender, sexualities, and ethnicities of the characters from the comics was baked in initially. That was part of Nate Moore, was that part of what that was part of what Nate Moore was really advocating for moving Eternals to the top of the list to start working on. What exactly is the makeup between when Nate put together his internal discussion document, which shows how we always start all of our projects and what she came in and did? I don't really recall, Feige added. He doesn't really sound that kind of bothered about it, does he? Feige then began discussing the casting, where he claimed that Cersei is the lead of the film, not Ikaris. who is predominantly the main protagonist when it comes to the Eternal stories in the comics. He said when it came to casting, that also did not affect it. There were some characters that we changed from male to female. There were some characters that we knew were altering from them in the book, but then it also came down to casting. Feige continues. So for Cersei, for instance, there was a lead in this ensemble, and it's Cersei. This is Gemma Chan. We looked at and read all sorts of women for that part and ended up really believing that Gemma was the best for it. And thankfully, she has proven that to be the case in the final movie, he added. So, of course, Chloe was a big part in that decision and of every casting decision. Some of it was done beforehand, and that continued once she was on board as director, he included. The article goes on to say if it wasn't clear that this film might be the wokest of all Marvel films so far, Feige pretty much confirmed it. He's made it very clear that they set out to race and gender swap the majority of the cast before they even began searching for a director. Not only that, but it shows where Marvel Studios and Feige's priorities are. He clearly states that the reason for the film being moved to the top of their list is purely because they could swap the characters, races, genders, and sexualities. When you are making movies simply to swap races, genders, and sexualities, you are not doing it right. And more times than that, and more than that, you sacrifice actual story because you're so blinded by identity politics. It's just another sign that the Marvel Cinematic Universe is heading in the wrong trajectory. Um, a trajectory that looks very similar to what Disney did with Lucasfilm and Star Wars. And then he just says, "What do you make of Feige's comments? What do you think, guys? Is this a film that anybody was going to watch anyway? Is this something that you? I mean, we've talked about this in the past, and we kind of knew that this is where it was going. But is it a surprise to anybody? Um, for me, not really, because I think, as we're saying, Robert Pearson. Well, that goes at the bottom of the pile of things to watch. Uh, Same. I've got to admit, I'm not particularly interested. Um, one, never read the Eternals. It was never a group that I was that interested in, and I don't think it's going to be a particularly interesting film, to be honest. Even though it has a big cast with a lot of very famous actors in, they're playing characters that they wouldn't normally play. As it said in the article, a lot of them have been swapped. So really, what's the point if all you're pushing forward is a message? It's not about the story; it's about agenda at this point. Mm. ND Geeks, Let's Talk says Guardians, Doctor Strange, Thor, Spider Man. That's about it for me for this movie phase. Yep. Um, Guardians, I think, is too far in the future to even think about at the moment because obviously we've got another 2 years at least, assuming that none of these films get pushed back again before we even see Guardians. And hello, Sit Room. I see you. Hope you're doing well. Sandra Morrison word salad. Yeah. But I get what they were saying, and this isn't a surprise. This is something that we've seen in the lead up to the film. But I think they're just going to double down, especially when it comes to advertising for this film when it does come out. Um, but not really that interested, I've got to admit. And this one, what did we say, November 5th of this year? So we've still got a ways to go before it drops. But it just seems that Marvel seems to have lost their way a little bit, especially with the TV shows. WandaVision started off strong, and then halfway through, people kind of lost interest because of the way the story went. Falcon and Winter Soldier, some people really enjoyed, some people found it very lecturing, and it was only 6 episodes anyway. The next one isn't until June, which is Loki. So it was one that I was kind of looking forward to, but even now I don't really give give a shit. And I probably, well, I know for a fact that I won't be reviewing it because, eh, I think there's better things to talk about, to be honest. Some of these, I have feelings Eternals is going to get feedback similar to the Inhuman series. Yeah, that was a series that kind of came and went, and nobody actually cared about. Um, Even though that had a pretty good cast as well. Let's see what else you're saying. So, Colin P. Smith says, we'll have to see how many of the leads are cancelled before the film reaches screen anyway. Oh, they're going to be very careful to protect the actors, I think. And that's why they've been so careful as to choose who's going to be playing each of these roles. As it said in the article, this cast was set before they even had a director. Hello, Crimson Mist. Good morning. It says, I, for one, not looking forward to anything coming this year, if at all. Yeah, I'm kind of there with you, to be honest. Looking at this lineup, there isn't really anything coming from the MCU that really kind of sparks my interest. And again, at least for us at the moment, our cinemas are still closed. I think it's May 17th that they finally open back up. Project Storytime. My wife said after Endgame, she's done with superhero movies. I'm pretty much there as well. I just don't care anymore. I'm kind of there as well, to be honest. We've had, you know, what, more than 10 years of the MCU. We had films before that. We've got the Snyderverse and DC films coming. I'm kind of tapped out when it comes to superhero films. But what I'd like to see is a resurgence of really good horror films, or even westerns. You know, some other genre to kind of make a comeback. Um, yeah, I really do love superheroes. I've got to admit, but it's even the most avid fan, I think, can get burned out after a while. Just remember, this is all Sam Raimi's fault. 19 years ago today, Spider-Man came out. But we have the entire rainbow of humanity. That means it's great regardless of the quality of story or characters. Pretty much. And Derek, I agree. Even Endgame was fairly weak for me. Yeah, yeah, I thought Endgame wasn't as great. I mean, there were great points in it, but as an overall film, yeah, it was a little bit lackluster as an ending. But at least it was an ending. Um, and good morning, Cam Cam. Good to see you. It says, hi, Purple, not interested in the Eternals, never read it, and it's all switched around anyway. Same, yeah, it's not one that I ever looked into, even as a comic book fan. Um, so, Mark, actually, it's Tim Burton's fault it started with Batman in '89. I actually watched Batman '89 on Saturday. I was like that film. And Batman Returns. And yes, we got to get the obligatory Mojo Matters. Keep pushing it, Mark. It'll happen eventually. I don't know, guys. What about you? If you could pick a genre, what would you like to see come back? We haven't had any really great sci-fi films for a while. That would be kind of nice. And Dave Bob says the fourth Power Girl scene took me out of it. Me too. I rolled my eyes. I mean, luckily it wasn't very good. It wasn't very long, but it was still there. Oops, and let me scroll back up. And a massive thank you to Psychodwarf9 with a $5 super chat. Thank you, sweetheart. He said, I've read one or two fan thought stories. Were okay. Premise was horrible. Yes. Thor Thor is the god of thunder. So Crimson Mist said, Horror movies these days don't appeal to me. Give me anything between 1950 and 1989. Agreed. You know, think back in the 80s we had the slasher films. James Andrew Morrison says sci-fi and westerns. Absolutely. I would love to see something like a weird west film, like a supernatural western. That would be pretty cool. I know we had that horrible Jonah Hex film, um, which was a shame because that's one of the characters that I do actually like. But God, that was an awful film. Room says, my problem is not with superhero movies, it's a problem with storytelling. Until Hollywood learns to tell stories again, we will not have good entertainment. Absolutely, I agree. Um, we've said it multiple times before, when it's more about pushing an idea than telling a story, you know, that's where things fall down. Mark says, I'll take a decent monster flick on par with story and practical effects of Ray Harryhausen and a good ancient hero adventure. That sounds good. Derek McManus says, good horror movies are very difficult to make as well. Yeah, everyone really loves things like the Blumhouse films. I've got to admit, I'm not a fan of them. I mean, one or two of them are okay, but Paris are good movies, too much to ask for. At the moment, with what's coming out of Hollywood, yes, unfortunately. Um, I know we've said it before, at least with comic books, we look to independent creators, but it's very different with film. It's hard to find really good independent creators because Hollywood will not take a chance on them. Crimson Mist said she forgot cowboys and aliens, which says it all. Uh, yeah, I did. I hated that film. Dave Bubbs is the original Ghost Rider. I like Ghost Rider as a character, but yeah, one of the few characters that I would like to see brought back because it has been so long is actually Spawn. I'd like to see another Spawn film done well. Robert Pearson says Gala Walkers. I know that one is a supernatural western with Wesley Snipes. Yes, it is. Um, I don't know. I just like westerns. I like westerns that cross over. I like westerns that cross over with horror. So something like Bone Tomahawk, for example, I always recommend to people. Even though I love gory horror, that has a death in that took me by surprise. And Dave Bob clarifies the Western one on the horse, not Johnny Blaze. Oops, it skipped on me. Sitroom says I would like to see a good modern take on Space Ghost. That would be cool. I could get behind that. Absolutely. Yeah. I'm trying to think of any characters that, really deserve being brought into the limelight. And good morning, JJ, aka Sith Lord. Good to see you. Welcome. Dee Dee says supernatural sci-fi slasher film, all sorts. That's what I'd like to see. Yeah, the heyday of the slasher film was kind of in the 80s, which is when it dropped off, and then we had things like jump scare films. We had the shaky cam films, which were brought in with Blair Witch Project, which I actually hate. Um, the only, I suppose, ongoing horror franchise that kept the sort of gore was Saw, but even that almost became a parody of itself by the end. Project Storytime says Spawn only if they bring back Keith David and let McFarlane write the story. That I would agree with. Yes, he would have to write the story. I know for years now that Neil Gaiman's Sandman has been thrown around. It's supposed to have been a film. It was supposed to have been a TV series. There's a really great kind of radio play, I suppose, you could call it, with some really great actors playing the roles. But to see it up on screen, I think that would be fantastic. But it seems to be lesser known comics that are doing better. So, The Boys, at least the first season, did very well. We've just had Invincible, which has done brilliantly, and it's just been announced that there's going to be a season two, which I'm looking forward to. Absolutely. Um, Big thank you to Darth Hasta with a $5 super chat. He says, for Valhalla. Absolutely. Thank you, sweetheart. Skull. And JJ Siflord, who says, I'm old school. Give me an updated version of The Last Starfighter. That I could see. Absolutely. Um, I've got to admit, the one that we have is not my favorite film. I think pretty much a lot of us could agree it's not a great film. But an updated version, yeah, I can see that. MB Geek says a live action He-Man would be cool. Now that has been bandied around for probably the best part of a decade. Um, I know that we've got a couple of animated series coming out. Obviously, the one with Kevin Smith looks to be woke, I suppose is the best way to call it. I was kind of looking forward to it, but the more I hear about it, the less excited I'm getting. Um, but we had some really great. The one from the 90s was a really great series, and the one from the 80s still holds up. But I've got to admit, I do love He-Man. But having brought up He-Man, Sword and Sorcery, that would be cool. We haven't had any really great fantasy films for a while either. I don't think anything could really top Lord of the Rings trilogy, but that would be pretty amazing to see some really good fantasy come back. Another thing that the 80s had was a whole kind of slew of really good fantasy films. Dave Brock brings up a good one, Werewolf by Night. I could get behind that. Absolutely. That would be pretty cool. I would have liked to have seen Creepshow brought back as well. Not as a film, but as a TV series. You know. Project Storytime says no Alan Oppenheimer, no money. God, I love Alan Oppenheimer. He brings that skeletal character to life. He's one of the few voice actors that I'd really like to meet as well. He's right up there with Frank Welker and Peter Cullen. Crimson Mist says, I'm hoping for a live action Macross Robotech movie. Now the Big West and Harmony Gold declared a truce. That would be kind of cool. I know we've got, is it Gundam that's coming as a film? That would be pretty cool. I think also that we had a issue, at least in the 90s and early 2000s, where we had a lot of books made into films and then it didn't go anywhere. So we had Ender's Game, for example. They spent a hell of a lot of money on that film and then just kind of it didn't perform as well as it could have done. And then they just dropped the license. Disney did the exact same thing with John Carter, which was actually a really good film. They just didn't market it or advertise it, and it just came and went and nobody watched it, which was actually a real shame. Paras asks, Purple Valkyrie, do you guys think that the Gauntlet video games would make a good movie? Well-known small cast. I could get behind that. Yeah, I mean that seems to be another thing that might be coming in the future. Video game films seem to have made a resurgence as well, so that should be interesting. I mean, obviously we just had the kind of lackluster Mortal Kombat that people had high hopes for that turned out to be kind of dull, to be honest. The characters, I mean, the costumes look good. They got a lot of the finishing moves right, but the plot was very generic. And I've got to admit, I really hated Cole as a character. So we'll see where that one goes. And let's see what else you guys are saying. Um, Conan series based on Howard books. Paul the Conqueror, Elfquest will look great as an animated series. That I'd agree with. Um, I'm more going with TV versus movies these days. Um, I would be inclined to agree as well. And be geek, to be fair. Um, they do seem to be putting a hell of a lot more money, especially Netflix and Amazon, into TV series. I mean, if you think about the Lord of the Rings that's coming, this is the most expensive most expensive TV series ever made. Yeah, it skips on me. Project Storytime. Uh, how great would be? How great would a rebooted Shira series be? But going back to talking about movies based on video games, I mean, we've got Ghost of Tsushima that's been announced that's coming. We've got the sequel um, to Sonic, Sonic 2. Well done, guys. Which was a film that actually really surprised me. I enjoyed. I mean, it's a kiddie film, but it was well done. So that's probably one of the few that I'd actually be interested in seeing. And good morning, Sister Kenobi. Good to see you. It says play Gauntlet a lot on the Commodore 64. Nice. I don't miss the Commodore 64. Robert Pearson, he says, Purple Valkyrie, you might like Umbridge, A Vampire's Tale, or I Still Love Sundown, The Vampire in Retreat. Haven't heard of those, but I will give them a go if you recommend them. Are you guys familiar with Brian Lumley? Because he did the Necronomicon series. He also did the Vampire Wars books, which, if done properly, would be kind of interesting to see up on the screen. I'd like to see it as maybe animated, akin to the Castlevania that we got, or Dota that's just been released, which is doing really well. Colin P. Smith says, one thing that could not be made these days is Rob Adams's Horse Clan series. Yeah, that's yeah. JJ Support, how about the rock version of Jumanji-esque Dungeons and Dragons? That's an interesting idea. Um, I've got to admit, the rock Jumanji films, they're not my favorite, but they didn't take themselves seriously. They knew what they were and they kind of had fun with it. So I could definitely see that. But the Dungeons and Dragons on the big screen has had a really bad track record of bringing it to life. The same with World of Warcraft, which was a real shame. I think that would have been a much better series than a film. Project Storytime says, okay, going to like my note, later Purple and chat, and even Mark. You have a good day, Project Storytime. Hope you have a good one. Um, Rob Pearson said, love Midnight Texas. We want another season. Not familiar with that one. I'll have to look that one up. And good morning, Wendology. Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, I don't know, guys. I don't know whether it's because of what's happened, obviously, with Goof, whether I'm just kind of burned out at the moment. But for me, at least, all of my entertainment, or at least 90% of my entertainment, is coming from YouTube. It's coming from you guys. It's getting to see people's opinions. It's getting to listen to you guys talk on streams, and it's for me that's how things have shifted in the past like 18 months. I can't remember the last time I actually sat down and watched terrestrial TV. In fact, I don't have it anymore. I actually cancelled my TV license because of it. Um, but even streaming, I very rarely watch. The only show that I've watched recently that I really enjoyed was Invincible. Um, but other than that, I've gone way, way back to films from the 1960s, 1970s, 1980s. That's what I've been watching. Conan P. Smith says, "How about a well-made series in the Cthulhu universe?" That's been bandied around for a while now. That's In the Mountains of Madness was supposed to have been Guillermo del Toro's, ultimate project. That's the thing that he really wanted to do. I think he's been trying to do that for probably at least the last 10 years. Um, I could definitely see him doing it. Um, but I don't know whether Lovecraft would be well received nowadays. He would most definitely be cancelled. So I don't think anyone would have any interest in it. There was a film that came out last year that had Nicolas Cage in that was a Lovecraft based film that was actually pretty good. But again, it was Nicolas Cage, so nobody really paid attention to it. Um, I think it was what was it? Color Out of Space, Color of Space. Yeah, Color Out of Space. It came out in 2019. I watched it and I actually really enjoyed it. I've got to admit. Mark says a 1930s Gumshoe Cthulhu movie would be good. Yeah, or even resurgence of film noir would be kind of interesting to see. Stu Kenobi, I just watch older stuff now, movies and TV shows, less and less YouTube too. Yeah, I can kind of see that as well. Um, Teresa Pearson said, "I love the Almighty Johnsons too. They should bring it back." Another one I haven't seen. I know of it, but I haven't watched it. MB Geek, Purple Valkyrie. I'm getting the impression that no one in my family, that's included, did not want me to pay the damn bills. Oh my gosh. So I don't know, guys. What do you think? Is it a case that there just isn't a lot of entertainment at the moment, or would you say that we're a lot more selective in what we watch and what we give our time to? Um, I've been much more willing to watch shows if one, I thought I was going to enjoy them, and two, they didn't preach. That's the big thing. We are just sick of being preached at. At the end of the day, all we want is good entertainment. Um, Me, at least, I've gone back to reading a lot. That's what I do to relax nowadays. I just pick up a really good book and read. Vanessa says I'm not getting any younger. Oh, me neither. I know exactly what you mean. Rune says it's a quality issue. Yeah, Derek McManus, the gender has put me off modern entertainment. Yeah, I think that is the main issue at the moment. I think eventually things will swing back around, most certainly. But I think also it's going to be too late for a lot of shows because people once people's interest is gone, it's very hard to get it back again. They just move on to the next thing, and that's kind of the culture that's been pushed as well. Consume and then move on to the next thing. We always say that SJWs don't support what they claim they do. They don't buy merchandise, they don't buy the DVDs, they don't buy it on Blu-ray. They'll promote it on Twitter until something else comes along. But that's not how you keep something that you love going. Mark the Infinite Tide says, "I've had a better time watching Geek Inside in group doing old Doctor Who shows. Highly entertaining." Absolutely, I agree with that. It's a lot of fun to see people, reading, doing a script read of these old shows. And Wendology says, "We no longer watch terrestrial telly either." There's just nothing on, to be honest. Even the show that people were raving about that finished last night, which I cannot remember at the moment what it was called because I didn't watch it. Apparently, that was disappointing. That had a disappointing ending. So everybody that put all this time in and, we're so excited for this last episode, it fell at the last hurdle, which is a shame. Um, Colin says it's two parts. I think it's a combination of both. The woke parasite has invaded so much that we've come to expect it and possibly seen wokeness where it isn't. And then for part two, how many people have said that Picard ruined TNG for them, for example? For me, the only thing Picard ruined was Picard. I can definitely separate TNG from Picard. I know we've got season 2 of Picard coming, but I don't care. I can I'm more than happy to go back and watch, TNG, the original series, DS9, even Voyager and Enterprise. Had good episodes. So there's always stuff to go back and watch. And hello, DJB too. Welcome. Good to see you. Vanessa says, watched Az's Batwoman review today. Warning, don't be eating. Yeah, I know a lot of people are watching it to review. I think mostly the people that are watching it are YouTubers just to tear it apart. But for me, I don't watch shows that I know I'm not going to enjoy, and I don't enjoy the CW, so I don't watch any of those shows anymore. I gave The Flash. I watched at least the first season of. Same with Arrow, but yeah, they just didn't grab my attention anymore. And unfortunately, it seems like Marvel, their TV shows are going the same way. Plus, they're really inconsistent with how many episodes they each have. So WandaVision, I think, had 9. Falcon and Winter Soldier had 6. Loki has apparently 2 seasons. So they're all over the place. Um, and Chris Persia says, I'll take that challenge. We'll watch while eating. Let us know how that plays out, Chris, please. Mark says, I think Gen X and the older millennials are tired of all the crap and are cutting the cord. I think so too. It's pretty much the way people kind of cut the cord with cable. And as we were talking about earlier, just saying we don't want to watch this terrestrial TV anymore, so we're going to cancel the license. It was that kind of thing. And good morning, Keely. Roll Tide. Good to see you. Dee Dee says, mostly getting my entertainment from YouTube, plus watching mostly 60s, 70s, 80s, and early 90s stuff. Same. I was watching on Amazon Beverly Hillbillies yesterday and having a great time watching it. I forgot how funny that show actually is. Next thing that I'm going to be starting on is Twilight Zone and Outer Limits, because although I've watched most of the episodes throughout, I've never sat down and watched all of them. So I'm going to get the complete series and just work my way through. I'm going to have a good time doing it. And DJ B2 says, I've resorted to watching 80s action movies. Oh, the 80s had the best action movies, absolutely. I'd go out on a limb and say the 80s had the best films, great action, great sci-fi, even great animation. Some of the best animation films came from the 80s. And I'm not just talking Disney, Don Bluth. Some of those films were fantastic. Twilight Zone, yes. Yeah. Eventually, once I've got a few episodes in, I'm going to do a show just dedicated to Twilight Zone. And I'm probably going to do one about the Outer Limits as well. So put a pin in that one, guys. Crimson Mist says, I've been watching old Merry Melodies and MGN cartoons on YouTube recently. Nice. I miss the Merry Melodies. Same with the Hanna-Barbera cartoons. Some of those were a lot of fun as well. The only Hanna-Barbera cartoon I never liked, and probably going to get cancelled for this, was actually Scooby-Doo. I never liked Scooby-Doo. Never could get interested in any of the characters. And I know there's been dozens of versions of Scooby-Doo throughout the years. Darren Prowse, good to see you. Welcome. says the classic Twilight Zone series is highly recommended. Have the complete box set and love the quality of the storytelling. Agreed. So that's what I'll be going next. But there's some great TV shows back in the day. One that I'd recommend that is probably not very PC nowadays, but was a great series. I think it was from the BBC. Was Penko. So if you guys want a really good show to watch, I'd recommend that. MB Geek says I would love a noir film show set in the 20s and 30s timeline, but I'd want it in black and white or go with Sin City look. That would be awesome. That would be pretty cool, to be honest. Yeah. uh, and Mark says I'm okay with you. Scooby Doo is blah. Okay, that's all right then. I know a lot of people do love Scooby Doo. I just never liked the character. I just thought the whole concept was just kind of stupid. Been binging on 80s film shows. So it's been watching Knight Rider, Airwolf, 18, Fall Guy, Automan, and Street Hawk. Yes, even Street Hawk. Working up courage to watch Manimal. Oh God, wish me luck. I completely forgot about Manimal. Oh, that was the thing. But again, still great stuff from the 80s. I would also recommend going back and watching the original series of V. That was a great show as well with Robert and London. Vanessa Law says the Maltese Falcon is way better than Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Amen to that. I agree. Cam asked, haven't watched the new Twilight Zone. Would you recommend it? Oh, like old Twilight Zone is a favourite. The new Twilight Zone is the one by Jordan Peele, isn't it? If I remember correctly. For me, I can't recommend it. I didn't like it at all, but some people maybe enjoyed it. I don't like Jordan Peele as a director. When Zylogy says just got the set, need to rewatch V. And Colin Tenko thought there weren't any strong female characters for 2016, and you give me a whole series full of them. Exactly. Oh my god, guys, thank you. Cam loved Manimal as a kid. The original V was was really good for the time. It was. Even the makeup effects were pretty good. The only thing that I didn't like was the weird hand puppet baby alien. That was just really odd. But other than that, that was all pretty good. That thing was just too silly to take seriously. Uh, oh my gosh! Thank you guys. Thank you for joining me today. Um, I've got a little request for you guys. So it's either going to be Wednesday or Friday this week. I've got a show planned. So what I was going to talk about is collections. Now, I know everybody here collects lots of different things, but what I was looking for is some more unusual collections so to showcase. So I know we've got comic book collectors, we've got toy collectors, we've got vinyl collectors, but if anybody out there has something a little bit more unusual that you collect, I'd love to hear from you because I'd love to highlight what people love, and it can be, comic books, it can be toys and that sort of thing as well. But for me, for example, I collect key rings. Whenever I travel, I pick up a key ring because they're generally cheap and they're easy to take back. So that's what I do. The same with postcards and magnets, that sort of thing. But yeah, if you guys have got anything to share, that would be amazing. I'd love to have some of you guys on just to talk about that. So it's probably going to be Friday's show because I think I'm going to have a guest on Wednesday. So that should be pretty cool. James Andrew Morrison says, I'm boring. I just collect comics and paperback books. That's not boring. I do exactly the same thing. Um, I collect books and comics and graphic novels as well. Cavatania asked Purple Valkyrie, have you watched Amazing Stories? I've watched a few Amazing Stories. I haven't watched all of them, but I do know of them, absolutely. Crimson Mist, I think I can help you with that. Awesome. That would be pretty cool. So what I will do is I will put a post in Discord, and if anybody is interested, just let me know, and we can kind of do a show highlighting people's collections. I think that would be kind of fun way to round off the week this week. So that's what I have planned coming up. And then Sunday, I'll be joined by Red Valkyrie and Cyber Valkyrie. I'm looking forward to chatting with them. So again, guys, another busy week. And then there'll be lots of other shows that we'll be doing as well. But that's what I, at least on Rise and Shine, have planned coming up. And just under the wire, thank you. Big thank you to MB Geek Let's Talk. He says, imagine a world where TV and movies done by the elites are horrible. A world where people want original ideas and fresh content with good writing. Indeed. Thank you, MB Geek. Let's talk. Thank you, Jesse. Oh my god. Imagine it indeed, guys. It'll come back, I promise. It's just taking a while. We will get good entertainment again, because eventually Hollywood will have to wake up and realize that they're just throwing money away at this point. People are not supporting what's coming out. People are not enjoying what's coming out. People are not, you know, talking about what's coming out. It's all very well that people will, pay to go see a film, but if they're not, but it's word of mouth and advertising that really gets momentum going. And if people are lying about it, then it just dies. They just move on to the next thing. And thank you, Cam Cam. It says, that sounds cool. Keychains. Yeah, keychains. I'll pick you up some next time I travel. Oh, thank you. But yeah, that's one of my weird little collections that I like to pick up when I travel. And let me just grab this one. DJB2 says the Oscars this year is proof of the woke stuff does not sell. Absolutely. I was actually, Schadenfreude, but I was actually really happy to see what happened with the Oscars. You know, a massive, massive drop in people watching, and rightly so. And Chris Persia says, have you thought of reaching out to Ian O'Time Lord? He's a Guinness Book of Record holders for Doctor Who memorabilia. Really? That's really cool. I might have to reach out to him. Um, I don't know what it is. I like to know what people collect. I suppose it's just being nosy, but I like to know what people are passionate about. What people enjoy. And hello, Six. Hello, sweetheart. Good to see you. Welcome. Dee Dee says, here, here. I truly hope it will come back and we will not have to watch each other to have fun and spend time with. I think we'll always, have each other most definitely, but to be able to enjoy mainstream media again, that would be pretty cool. Absolutely. Adega says nosy, why no, not surprised. Be nice, Adega. Be nice. Oh, oh my gosh. Thank you guys. Um, thank you for joining me this morning. I really appreciate it. Thank you to everyone who sent a super chat. You guys are the best. We really do have the best chat. And as Mark says, let's get Clubby to 1K. He's not far off, and he does deserve it. Bless him. He has a great channel. So thank you for that. I will be back Wednesday. I'll be back at 10 a.m. Central as usual. So a huge, huge thank you to everyone for joining me this morning. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. and no doubt I will see you guys around YouTube throughout the week. So have a great one, guys, and take care.